But that same Muhammad is mentioned in John 15 and John 16, and most Christians don't perceive it.
No, we don't perceive it because it's not there. Jesus did not mention Muhammad. The only time he mentioned anybody who is similar to Muhammad is when he warned us about false prophets who would come after him.
What do you mean?
He's mentioned by name in their scriptures. They can deny it all they want.
We don't have to deny it. We need you to prove it. You cannot prove it, and so there's nothing to deny. You can make the claim, but we just brush it off as the claims of a jealous little brother trying to be like his big brother. Just submit to Christ, okay? It'll be easier for you.
John 15 what?
John 15 and John 16, in our humble opinion, Jesus is referring to the Prophet Muhammad. In my opinion.
Oh, it's your opinion. I see. So everything I'm supposed to believe about Islam is based on my opinion of Islam. I see how that works.
If we're going to claim to follow the Salaf, then the way of the Salaf is the way of athar, narrations, not the way of ra'i, opinions.
Humble opinion, Jesus is referring to the Prophet Muhammad. In my opinion.
The way of the Salaf is the way of athar, narrations, not the way of ra'i, opinions.
That's exactly what happened after his alleged crucifixion.
Every time I hear alleged crucifixion, I just laugh. The crucifixion of Jesus is one of the most well-attested and well-documented events in the history of the ancient world. Who are you going to believe? Historians who wrote about it? The eyewitnesses who saw it happen and wrote about it? Who are you going to believe? The multiple sources that affirm Jesus was indeed crucified? Or are you going to believe some guy who got caught getting choked out in a cave and claimed it was an angel?
They started rounding up the Christians, and I say Christian by people that followed Christ. They were massacring them.
That's right. Many were persecuted and even persecuted unto death. But before the Romans began rounding them up and persecuting them, the Jewish people who rejected Jesus would go against and attack their own countrymen, fellow Jews who had embraced and followed Jesus. Now, the Jews did not reject Messiah because of his message of monotheism. They still, to this day, hold to a similar form of monotheism that Muslims do. It's a false form of monotheism, but nonetheless, it's still a form of monotheism. They didn't reject monotheism that Jesus taught. They rejected the monotheism that Jesus taught. And the monotheism that Jesus taught was Trinity. So again, we don't go by opinions, we go by the narrative. And the narrative is they rejected Jesus because he blasphemed. He claimed, being a man, to be God.
The way of the Salaf is the way of athar, narrations, not the way of ra'i, opinions.
Okay? They were throwing him in the Colosseum. The guy that wrote half the Bible was a Christian bounty hunter.
In fact, he thought he was doing God's work, hunting them down and throwing these infidels who committed shirk into prison and unaliving them. Kind of like what happens in a lot of countries today. When you become a Christian from a particular religion, you'll be hunted down and put into prison and ultimately put to death.
Okay? That's like if you're Jewish, the Germans are wiping out your people, and then all of a sudden it's like, hey, we're going to give you this book.
No, it would be more like a high-ranking official in Boko Haram is going around unaliving Christians like they do today, and then he encounters Jesus, is saved, and then begins preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ, defending the gospel of Jesus Christ, and eventually, because of what he is writing and proclaiming, he's put to death by the very people that he was under authority to. So that'd be a closer kind of idea of what we're looking at here.
That's who gave you half your New Testament? The guy that was hunting down Christians and massacring them? Really? And you think it was the...
Saul?
Saul, also known as Paul.
Right.
Now...
He was massacring Christians?
He was a Christian bounty hunter.
You can literally see his mind spinning as he's realizing, wait a second, this is actually an incredible testimony. This is a pretty cool story. Wish we had somebody who was totally against us, fought against us, and then converted to our religion and became one of its biggest proponents. Man, that's amazing.
Massacring the first followers of Christ. God's going to reward that, right? Come on.
God doesn't reward wickedness. He redeems the wicked.